that country. And we'll talk later about cultural dimensions. A famous study that was done in the 80s by Hofstede that he determined 5 primary cultural dimensions. These aspects of culture, continuum of culture. For example, is it individualistic or communal? All right, so individualism is one dimension. And America just happens to be, of the 53 countries that Hofstede studied, we are #1 on the list for individualism. It absolutely marks us as a culture. All right? And why we're individualistic is shaped by our history, et cetera, all right? So then you have these other countries fall at different spots. So you're going to look at the cultural dimensions of that culture. Then you're going to compare and contrast that with American culture. And then you're going to talk about, if you go to do ministry in that culture, what are the adjustments? What are some of the things that you need to adjust in order to be effective in that culture? Now, one of the changes I made from the old syllabus was...
What, 18 to 20?
Yeah, it was an 18 to 20 page paper, all right? And I didn't want to kill you, and so I bumped it down to 14 to 16. But let me tell you, it really is an 18 to 20 page paper. What I mean by that is you need to get the content of a 20 page paper in a 15 page paper, all right?
Is that double-spaced?
Yeah. It's just the standard, format for a paper, all right? So that's a major project, all right? That's going to be a ton of work, and you're going to love it, all right? This is stuff that, pick a country that you're passionate about. Pick a place, and we'll have you sign up because I want you all to do a different place, all right? And then you're going to do a presentation in class. You're going to talk about that culture. You can talk about all the aspects of it and the things that you wrote about. So you'll do a PowerPoint. You'll do all that. If you flip over to the back side, you will see on the schedule that October 1st, your cross-cultural analysis is due. That's the 14 to 16 page paper, okay? So it needs to be not fluffy. It needs to be content rich. You're going to need every one of those pages to really unpack the things that you learn, okay? So that's there, but then you'll see that the presentations start a week later, okay, on the 8th. And you'll sign up for which day you're going to do your presentation, all right? The week gap is so that you get the paper done, and then you can work on your presentation stuff. PowerPoints, handouts, all of that. It's too much to ask you to turn in the paper and then, at the same time, do the presentation. All right, so that's why we have that space. Also, you will notice on this back that we have a reading assignments for the first 4 weeks, but then there's a gap for weeks 5 and 6 where you're not doing any reading. That's because I know you are swimming in your project, okay? So we won't have reading assignments at that time, all right? Give you space to just be knocking this puppy out. Yes, your question?
What if you're not passionate about a particular country?
Then I'll give you one. Because I've got some places I'm really passionate about, and I would love to have people work on those.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
I didn't want to assign them because I want you to have passion. So I'm really glad that you said that. Okay. All right. So that's the cross-cultural analysis. I'll give you more details next week so that you can begin to tear into that, and we'll be thinking about what country you want to do. All right. Then you're going to do a position paper. All right, and that's going to be a 5 to 6 page paper responding to one of a series of topics. Again, this really should be an 8 to 10 page paper, all right, or a 10 to 12 page paper. But I want you to write it in 5 to 6 pages. So I want it to be the content of a 10-page paper in a 6-page assignment. Okay, so make it not fluffy. It's got to be rich. And this will be, I'll provide a list of some topics, and then you could suggest some other topics. And Brittany and I will work on the list of topics, all right? So we'll put together a list of topics. But I'm thinking about some topics like polygamy. All right, this issue of polygamy, going into cultures where they're practicing polygamy. Well, it's pretty interesting because they practice polygamy in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but then by the New Testament, we have this instruction that if you're a leader in the church, you should only have one wife. Okay, so there's a cultural change that happens in the course of time in the scriptures. All right, so how do we deal with that? How do we unpack that? What are the theories behind that? All right, and then how would we approach effectively a culture that polygamy is a practice? Okay, I think that'd be a fascinating topic. All right, and there's others like that, these culturally oriented topics that this could be very interesting. All right, so that's the position paper. You'll see on the back that the position paper is due on week 14. So right before Thanksgiving. Thursday's Thanksgiving, Tuesday you'll turn in that paper. Then we have 5 minutes left in the class. Reading quizzes. So you have the reading assignments here, okay, on this list. It's on the date that that reading assignment is listed. That means it's read by that date, because when you walk in the room, you're going to have a quiz on that reading assignment. Okay. Now, the quizzes are going to be it's going to be two kinds of quizzes. One quiz is going to be one question, and that question is: did you read 100%, 80%, 60%? And your grade is accordingly. Okay. The other one is it's a 10-point quiz. And it asks 10 questions about the reading. And you don't know which week you come in, which quiz you're going to get. But I may even sometimes, when I give the 10-point quiz, give you the 1-point quiz first, and then give you the 10-point quiz, just to make sure there's a correlation between those two. Yes, all right? And you'll never know. All right, so that's the plan on reading quizzes. There's 11 quizzes. I'm going to throw out the lowest one. Okay, so I expect, in the craziness of the semester, there's going to be a week where you were slammed and you didn't get your reading done, and so your quiz is going to reflect that. All right, so that's the plan on quizzes. Now, here's the deal. I have reading quizzes in this class because I think the books are so vitally important. And it is so vitally important for you to have read that reading before we're in class, so that our conversation can be really rich and meaningful. This stuff, we've got 3 incredible texts for this class. I love this material. I think you're going to love it too. If you love missions, you're going to love these books. Yeah.
Can we find these books in the bookstore?
They should be.
That's what you should.
Yeah, they're required for the class, and so they should be there. Then we'll have a final exam at the end of the semester. All right, so those are the assignments. Here are 3 books. All right, so the first is Kraft's book, Christianity and Culture, and this book is a classic. This is the 25th anniversary edition. This has been really significant in the study of missiology. This is a book that if you're a missions major or minor, you need to have read this. Not just talked about it, but you need to have read it, all right? And this is a little bit harder reading. This isn't, nighttime long, before I go to sleep reading. It'll put you to sleep, all right? So, but I say that on one hand, and on the other hand, it doesn't put you to sleep at all, because the concepts are just really, will stretch you. And you're going to love it. Brittany loves this book. Do you want to say anything about it?
Yeah, I just love the book.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So there's this book, all right? This one is really going to get into the whole idea of culture, okay? And this whole idea of stripping back culture from Christ, and the relationship between how culture impacts everything you think and believe, and how your framework for understanding life. And when you've got your framework and somebody else's framework, and then you have God. And your understanding of God is shaped by your culture. All right? Their understanding of God is shaped by their culture. And so you're trying to communicate here. Well, there's this absolute truth, and then there's what you understand about it, and then you're going to try and come over here and speak to a different culture. All right? He's going to unpack all that stuff. And great book. Even better book. All right? This is a book on theology in the context of world Christianity. It's got 10 chapters. This is where we look at theology and the issues that arise in theology in other parts of the world that really can deepen our own understanding of our own theology. And so he deals with issues. And has anyone gotten the books yet? Okay. And so 10 chapters, stuff like chapter 2, is the father of Jesus the God of Muhammad? Okay, that's a really relevant issue. I've got a bunch of books on my bookshelf that all, tackle that topic. Is this the same God or not? Okay, so that's one chapter. Another one is on bibliology, and it looks at, can we, there's so many religions with so many sacred texts. Do those have spiritual truth in them? Are they on par with Scripture? What do we do with them? Paul will quote, philosophers and poets. So level of inspiration, what do we do with all these different sacred writings? All right. Then, skipping down, the next chapter is on shame cultures and guilt cultures. Shame and guilt. American culture is a guilt-based culture, but then you have shame-based cultures in Middle East and other places. And those have radical implications on how we act and interact with one another and how we understand what Jesus has done for us. The Bible is actually probably more shame-based than it is guilt-based. So unpack that a little bit. Then a very important chapter on ecclesiology, and that is followers of Jesus in Islamic mosques. So when we talk about churches and how do we contextualize the gospel and what does a church look like in these other cultures, where's the line? Where is it synchronism, where it's just no longer Orthodox Christianity anymore, and where is it not? What is not contextualizing enough? What may be contextualizing too much? Okay? So, awesome book. Third book, Leading Across Cultures. This is a book that I give to the pastors that I take with me overseas. And I really encourage them to read it before they ever go on the trip. Because it helps us unpack, or helps them unpack the differences in it helps them understand that what they see they may misinterpret when they go overseas. That even styles of leadership are culturally conditioned. So the African style of leadership is really different than the American style of leadership. But we're really good, of going to places and saying, if you want to lead, you do it this way. And that style is, those behaviors are bad, but we don't really understand that the way that style is functioning, we see the negative side of it, we don't understand the positive side of it. Okay? And then and he just helps us see cultural differences through some of his experiences because he spent 20 years in Africa. So I'll read you a little scenario, then we'd be done. No, we'd be done now. I'm sorry. It's after time.
I have a quick